You can feel the tension in the air as we move into race day here in Monaco. It's a track that requires the full concentration of the drivers with zero margin for error. It tests their skills to the absolute limits, so no wonder it remains a fan favourite. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco, then, is not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo. And although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, George Russell, and Piastri, Tsunoda, Norris, Hadjar, and Fernando Alonso, Lawson, Albon, Carlos Sainz, and Stroll, Hülkenberg, Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and Gabriel Bortoleto. Colapinto and Ollie Bearman rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
OK, let's have a comms check, please. Radio check.
Copy, radio check.
OK, we've been given a time penalty. It will go against our finishing time at the end of the race. Get your head down and let's get it done. We can now use DRS. DRS now available. Okay, watch the aggression, please. We don't want to lose places because of a penalty. Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap. Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Thanks, mate. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
And Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag and once again wins.
I mean, it looked like they were in a different category at points during the race, led every lap. I mean, what more can we say?
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky three, it's time to stand on it. It's a familiar sight in Formula One, and here it is once again. Lewis Hamilton, with the trophy held high, celebrating a masterful victory. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One. Well, it's a pleasure to have you join us here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, as we proceed through to race day to see just who will claim victory at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, and Hamilton. Russell, Norris, Stroll, and Alex Albon. Lawson, Fernando Alonso, Isaac Hadjar, and Sainz. Bortoletto, Hülkenberg, Ollie Behrman, and Esteban Ocon. Gasly and Franco Colapinto rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Now, Ant, you always tell me you know Barcelona almost as well as you know the back of your hand. Given the amount of testing that goes on here and the amount of laps that you and all the other drivers have done, what are the challenges that are left when it comes to the race?
I think it's a well-trodden path, is Barcelona, Crofty. I mean, most drivers will know it up and down the grid. They would have raced here in their junior categories. And you come to Barcelona and there's nowhere to hide. So naturally, that makes all the lap times quite close because it's a circuit you know so well. But there's a key to this track, and it's looking after your left-hand side tyres. There are so many right-hand, it's a clockwise circuit, so lots of fast right-hand corners, puts a lot of energy on the left-hand side tyres. So looking after those through the race, getting your strategy right is vital for this circuit.
Okay, radio check, radio check.
Yeah, copy, ready, check.
DRS now enables. DRS enables. Green flag. Brilliant, nice move, keep going. You're in the top 10 now, keep it up. Good job, that was the fastest lap of the race so far. Final lap, push, push. Okay, gap to the car in front, 2.5 seconds. And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Well, honestly, I'm quite happy.
And in the end, there was no Verstappen. Max Verstappen, he takes victory.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
And it's time for that special moment for our special three today. The podium awaits our top three finishers. And for those that have missed the Dutch national anthem, fear not. It's back again, because Max Verstappen is back on the top step. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon. As the drivers begin to climb into their cars down on the grid, the excitement is really building at this magnificent circuit. We're just about ready to go racing for today's Formula One Grand Prix. It's a tricky circuit to tackle in wet conditions, with top speed still of critical importance down the long back straight. There are 2.7 miles and 14 corners overall on this circuit that in the dry can see average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour. We'll be lucky to get anywhere near that today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Antonelli, Verstappen, George Russell and Norris, Piastri, Tsunoda, Sainz and Fernando Alonso, Albon, Hadjar, Lance Stroll and Lawson, Hülkenberg, Gasly, Ollie Behrman and Gabriel Bortoleto, Colapinto and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. What a track this is, and what a challenge for the drivers this weekend. Long straights, heavy braking zones and a very green surface to start with.
All about the braking, all about firing your car over the curbs, the way you have to dance the car over the curbs, particularly in turn 3 and turn 4, close to the barriers on the right-hand side. Wall of champions as well, waiting for you right at the end of the lap.
Radio check, please. Radio check.
Radio check, okay.
Okay, you're in the top 10. Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 7.0 seconds. Okay, mate, final lap. Keep your concentration and let's bring it home. All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Still early days.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory, he wins!
And what a drive today. Obviously keeps their championship hopes alive. And it's a warning sign, isn't it, for the rest of the competition, Crofty. They're not going down without a fight. I loved what I saw out there today from them. And hopefully they can now get on a roll and continue this progression through the rest of the year.
And once all the hard work is over, and after lap of brilliant racing, it's time now to celebrate with our podium trio. And who gets to take the top step of the podium? Yes, it is I, Leclerc, Charles Leclerc on top. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
眠たくなるまでやっていきます。I, LL, do it until I feel sleepy.
The hills are alive with the sound of engines. It's race day here at the Austrian Grand Prix. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill of turn 3. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Antonelli, Tsunoda, Lando Norris, and Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Lawson, and Lance Stroll, Albon, Sainz, Isaac Hadjar, and Fernando Alonso, Bortoletto, Ocon, Ollie Behrman, and Nico Hülkenberg. Colapinto, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And striding into our commentary box to join us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony Davidson. So much to talk about on what is such a short lap. It's the fastest lap times of the season, but that doesn't mean it's not a challenge.
It's a real challenge to get right this circuit. Lots of tight corners linked up with very long straights. You've got 3 DRS zones as well. That means that the racing is often very close, and you can hang on to potentially a faster car if you can stay within that 1 second buffer. But you've then got some higher speed corners like turn 6 and 7 in the middle of the track, and then the 2 final corners as well. Track limits. Yep, there we go. I mentioned it. Be careful.
Okay, mate. Radio check, please. Radio check.
Copy, radio check.
I'm afraid you've been given a time penalty for that last incident, mate. Okay, mate, don't worry about the damage. I've got some new strategy options if you go and check your MFD. Okay, go, go, go. That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting. Okay, DRS is now available. Great work, that's a new fastest lap of the race. Good job, that was the fastest lap of the race so far. Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Thank you very much. It was nice out there.
And an award-winning day for Oscar Piastri as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
To overcome the difficult circumstances they face throughout this race today, Crofty, it's not easy, and it really shows a lot of maturity, and you can use this, you can draw on this as a driver moving forward and boost your confidence through the rest of the championship.
We had drama from start to finish, but in the end, there was only ever one that could take that top spot. And your winner today, the man from down under, congratulations, Oscar Piastri. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one. Thank you for joining us once again as we get another Formula One Grand Prix underway. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position. And Kimi Antonelli completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Russell, Tsunoda, Piastri, Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson, Sainz, Stroll, Isaac Hadjar and Albon, Behrman, Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Gabriel Bortoleto, Colapinto and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday. But in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, Crofty. You know, the cars have got bigger, they're heavier, but critically, there's more downforce to play with as well now. There was about 4 tons of downforce on the car at 300 kilometres an hour when I drove. You're now looking more towards 5 tons of downforce. So there's a big difference in performance. But because of that, the car being heavier and bigger, you've got to drive in a smoother way. You've got to look after it a bit more. You've got to nurse it through the slow-speed corners more. They were much more nimble, agile machines when I drove in Formula 1 compared to now.
Radio check, radio check.
Radio check.
We can now use DRS. DRS now available. That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. Okay, good work. Great pass. Okay, gap to the car ahead, 3.4 seconds. Okay, mate, this is the final lap of the race. Final lap. And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Thanks for that.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
Well, another race victory today, and you can clearly see they're starting to believe in themselves more and more. You get to a stage, Crofty, where you become very hard to beat as a driver when you keep putting in performances like this one.
It's time for our podium celebrations. And as ever in Formula One, 3 is the magic number. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next. Welcome everyone to Silverstone, home of the British Grand Prix and home of the Formula One World Championship, where the very first F1 World Championship Grand Prix took place back in 1950. To this present day, it remains a firm favourite amongst fans and drivers alike. The 3.6-mile-long Silverstone circuit is one of the longest of the season, with 18 corners in the current layout. With average lap speeds reaching around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the quickest tracks of the year. Watch out for cars taking the right-handers of Abbey and of Copse flat out. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Piastri, Leclerc, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Sainz, and Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, Hadjar, Lance Stroll, and Albon, Gasly, Bortoletto, Nico Hülkenberg, and Esteban Ocon. Colapinto and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. I love being here at Silverstone. I know you do too. Mainly because we get to sleep in our own houses for a week. But what do the drivers enjoy most about this track?
Well, Silverstone's such a challenging circuit, Crofty, more so for the car than the driver, because these high-speed corners at Silverstone really test this modern-day F1 machinery to its maximum. We don't get that many times throughout the calendar. I can only think of Suzuka and Spa, maybe Qatar as well, with that high-energy cornering that you get here at Silverstone. So the drivers love throwing the car around through corners like Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, for example, and it's really influential for your lap time as well.
Okay, give me a quick radio check, please. Radio check.
Copy, radio check.
DRS now enables. DRS enables. Good job. Nice overtake. Okay, you're in the top 10. Okay, here's the gap that we're trailing the car ahead by. 2.5 seconds. Okay, you've just started the final lap of the race. Final lap. That move was illegal, I'm afraid, mate. Return the position, give it back. All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
I'm quite happy.
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
To do it as a team on home soil, that really means something special, and you can see how much it means to them, the drivers involved as well. Great job by them today, of course, as always, but for the fans watching on too, a great display of teamwork here today.
There's There's room for 3 on their podium, but only ever 1 right at the top. Let the celebrations begin. One of the all-time greats celebrates yet again. It's another podium, it's another top step for Max Verstappen. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
明日の夜から日本語でやっていきます。
Welcome to Silverstone. This ground here is rich with history, a former airfield that served in the Second World War and now hosts one of the oldest and most iconic races in motorsport. It's the Formula One British Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Antonelli, Max Verstappen, and Russell, Tsunoda, Piastri, Stroll, and Isaac Hadjar, Sainz, Albon, Liam Lawson, and Fernando Alonso, Behrman, Gasly, Franco Colapinto, and Gabriel Bortoleto, Ocon, and Nico Hulkenberg rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me today, former Formula One driver and former world champion too. See, told you I'll give you a big intro. Anthony Davidson, hello. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
All right, let's have a quick radio check, please. Radio check.
Yeah, copy, ready, check.
Okay, DRS is now available. Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place. Okay, clear. Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap. Some information on Antonelli. Right, they've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring. Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun out there.
And as we've said so many times in the past, the checkered flag is out for our winner, Lewis Hamilton.
Well, I'm sure I've seen an increased hunger, increased desire from this driver this weekend, Crofty, as they've performed in front of their home crowd. And drivers often say they feel extra energy from inside the car, and I really feel like we saw that, we witnessed it here today.
Only 3 can take to the podium, and here they come. And back on the top spots that he's taken so often in the past. So well done to Lewis Hamilton. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon. Eau Rouge, Radion, the bus stop chicane, iconic turn names and an iconic circuit. History lives here at Spa-Francorchamps at the Belgium Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, and Antonelli, Russell, Hamilton, Hadjar, and Fernando Alonso, Albon, Stroll, Carlos Sainz, and Lawson, Ocon, Gasly, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Ollie Behrman. Hulkenberg and Franco Colapinto rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And alongside me, a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend. Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, you know, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, radio check, radio check.
Radio check, okay.
We can now use DRS. DRS now available. Okay, good work. Great pass. You're in the top 10 now. Keep it up. Gap to your teammate behind, 3.8 seconds. Final lap, final lap. Push, push. And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
The call was mega today, so thank you.
Here's the checkered flag, and our winner has landed. It's Lando Norris for victory.
This race really mattered for them today, Crofty. You know, it's close in the Drivers' Championship. You feel that pressure as a driver as it gets towards the end of the championship. And, you know, it's a big relief. It's a weight off of your shoulders, and you'll know that it was a job well done.
It's been a hard afternoon of brilliant racing, but now it's time for some proper celebrations. The podium awaits. He raises the trophy over his head. Lando Norris, head and shoulders above the rest today. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action, but with more races lined up, Be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One. We're live on the outskirts of the capital, Budapest, at a track that's extremely popular with both the fans and our drivers. I'm talking, of course, about the Hungaroring, and we're about to begin the Hungarian Grand Prix. 14 corners then for our drivers to navigate at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring today. It's 6 lefts and 8 rights around a lap here, with average speeds in the region of 120 miles per hour. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Antonelli, George Russell and Leclerc, Tsunoda, Piastri, Lawson and Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso, Hadjar, Carlos Sainz and Stroll, Behrman, Ocon, Franco Colapinto and Pierre Gasly. Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Well, it's been a long time since I last worked with you. Good to see you again today. Anthony Davidson. Now, you're the racing driver in this partnership, so tell us about this racing driver. Put us in their shoes. How are they going to be feeling?
Well, you've got to be prepared, Crofty. Before you even step foot inside the car, you've got to know, you've got to have a pre-race game plan. You've watched videos before you get into the car of previous races gone by. You know where you have to place your car if X, Y or Z happens in front of you or behind you. So having this clear game plan is absolutely essential before you get in the car.
All right, give me a quick radio check, please. Radio check.
Copy, radio check.
DRS now enabled. DRS enabled. Okay, you're in the top 10. Easy on the aggression, we need clean overtakes or we'll get a penalty. Okay, mate, final lap. Keep your concentration and let's bring it home. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 5.1 seconds. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 3.0 seconds. All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Thanks, everyone.
Here's the checkered flag. The fans rise to their feet. It's Lando Norris for victory.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
It's what every driver imagines when they start out on their long road towards Formula One. And for our lucky three today, here's the podium waiting for them. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
ラグそうなので終わりたいと思います。
So with the race...
見ていただき、ありがとうございました。